More importantly, which roads to avoid. Straight from there, we get into a newspaper review. And good morning. As we said, it's now time to get into the newspaper review proper. This, of course, is K24 This Morning. We'll start off looking at the front pages of each of the dailies and then dig deeper into the big stories of the day. Starting off with the front page of the People Daily. Why Mao is a political hot potato for Jubilee. Uhuru and Ruto in dilemma over evictions that derailed Raila's march to State House in 2013 is a lead story in your copy of your People Daily. On the Standard's front page, KRA goes after 7 governors in 13 billion shilling tax row. Cash Dues agency talks about the fact that it's going after county chiefs who owe billions of shillings in unremitted taxes. That's a lead story in your copy of The Standard. Front page of the Daily Nation. Kenyans caught up in South Africa's xenophobia wave. Angry youths attacked South African businesses in major Nigerian cities as Ethiopia added to condemnation of xenophobia violence against black immigrants in the Rainbow Nation. That makes the front page of your Daily Nation. And on the front page of the Star, garbage tenders. EACC finds Sonko link in money trail. Nairobi governor was interrogated on Tuesday for more than 8 hours and denied all allegations leveled against him. Now, investigators are tracing 20 million shillings paid directly into the governor's account. And that's the story that's leading on the front page of the Star. Finally, on the Business Daily's front page, regulator fights Kenya Power tariff rise notice. Planned by sole distributor to raise the cost of electricity for homes, factories, meets resistance. And that's the story that you can get, of course, on the front page of your Business Daily. We'll look at each of those dailies and the major stories covered therein. My panel, as I said, fully constituted and ready to talk the talk. And more importantly, walk the walk where it's needed. Gabriel Mudhama, thank you so much for making time to be here. Edward Sifuna, Patrick Gathara. Let's start off with the People Daily's front page. Why Mao is a political hot potato for Jubilee. This story has taken quite a dynamic. People now, digging lines in the sand. Lots of doublespeak as well, even from a party that should be essentially reading from one script when it comes to such issues. Yesterday, we saw it play out in public in full glare of the media. Murkomen, and this is a quote that is actually on the front page of the People Daily. The president is of all Kenyans and not a section of Kenyans. The DP is a leader of all Kenyans and not the Kalenjin. Kutuni, on the other hand, let Ruto come out openly and talk about the Mao issue. Let's start with you, Bwana Gabriel. As we stand right now, this, of course, is an issue that very many politicians are looking at because they know this might just take their career and sweep it down the drain. Right. Nobody wants to make an utterance that might put them on the wrong side. How do you move from this? Because we know at the end of the day, we need to protect the water catchment area, but how is a big question.
No, I think this is actually a very easy thing. We're just complicating it, right? We have actually 2 documentations from 2 commissions. We have the Hassan Noor, and we also have the Ntutu Commission, which actually came or ratified how, and I don't want to call it the evictions. I think the wrong word that we've been using is evictions. We'll call it resettling them. Same way it was done in the same way it was done in Kieni Forest. So we are using a word here that is actually not attracting a good purpose, right? Let us resettle them. And I understand very well. I've read about the Mao. I've actually gone to the Mao and I've seen it, all right? We all agree. The one thing I cannot support is the continuation of degrading that particular ecosystem. We are going to lose at the end of the day. And I am yet to hear of a leader who is saying that we should not protect the Mao. All right. So, in other words, everybody agrees what is lacking is the how. All right. And this is where the government comes in, and the government should come in and actually be able to talk about how it's going to resettle, all right, the population. It is not going to be an easy job, and I agree. But that is the work of the government. We do not expect it to be easy for the government. They must do the hard lifting. And the hard lifting is you look at this population and you say, first of all, you have the people who have title deeds. How they moved there, it's up to the government to know. Where they go, again, is up to the government to know. But you cannot say, all of a sudden, we are going to nullify those titles, by the way, which we all know have the sanctity, according to the laws of the land. And you cannot say we are just going to evict people en masse without showing them where to go. So yes, the human face must come in, but also more importantly, we must be able to balance as a country. how do we deal with those people who came there illegally?
Okay, and let me jump into that particular
also,
point.
very importantly, so that we can also ensure that we do not set precedents of people just running to a place illegally, knowing that they can get compensated.
Okay, and I'll bring in Mr. Sifuna on this as well, because I could see him nodding as you said, we're using the wrong words when you talk about this issue. We're not evicting, we're resettling. But is it really a semantics issue, Mr. Sifuna? Because when you look at it, even the people who are being taken out of this area don't know where they're going. So to resettle, you need to have a place where you're being settled in. Natembe has spoken about the fact that now looking into this particular issue to see where they'll be put at. But at this particular point in time, is it a semantics issue or is it a bigger thing at play right here? Because, I mean, we've used words as humanitarian crisis. We don't know where all of these people are going once they're taken out of the forest. So what's really happening there right now?
I think it is bigger than semantics. But first of all, let me correct you. I heard you introduce me twice as somebody else. My name is Edwin Sifuna. So that is that. But I think it is a matter that is being taken a bit too lightly. This is a very, very serious issue. There is the issue of conservation, first of all, which for me is the primary concern. And then secondly, the issue of resettlement. We have scattered around this issue for quite a long time. True. And Mao has now become a playground for politicians, especially in the Rift Valley. When we speak about conservation, I mean, this is an ongoing conversation across the world. Right, right now, there are places in the world that are being hit by very serious hurricanes. We've seen Dorian in places like Bahamas, and the entire discussion about climate change. Kenyans are already feeling the effects of that climate change and the destruction of forests. So for me, really, we need to extract this particular matter from the lenses that have been trained on it, where now people want to, just as usual, from way back when we started this discussion, people want to politicize it. The various reports that my brother has alluded to, and including even the TJRC report and the Ndumuland report, were very clear. You have to make the distinction between illegal allocation of land and irregular allocation of land. If land was available for allocation, but it was done in an improper manner, it's called an irregular allocation. It can be corrected. But if the land was never available for allocation in the first place, it is illegal. It doesn't matter how high you jump or dig a hole and jump inside. It's not going to change that fact. In fact, for me, and I don't want to sound like Trump, if it were up to me, I would start by putting a fence on the border of that forest and telling everyone, if you're on this side, please find your way to this other side. It's that simple. And
as you put the fence and they move to the other side, what happens to the ones moving to the other side with the title deed saying that we got this from the ministry?
That's what I'm saying. There have been resources that have been allocated over the years, taxpayers' money, for resettlement of people in the forest. So it is about a government that is unable to implement a program that has been agreed upon from the start, and people want to start making noise and making it political.
Patrick, I'll bring you in on this as well. Is it politically convenient for them to talk about this now? Because this is where you gain or lose lots of massive political capital with the Mao.
It's always political and it's always convenient for guys to bring it up now. I think, I mean, I'm surprised, I have to say. Sifuna here is an MP. You know.
I am not an MP. Why are you people
sorry, I thought you were.
I am not a member of Parliament.
All right. But now, yeah, the SG, sorry. But what I'm saying is, we have people in Parliament, we have people in government whose job it is to ensure these things are done and to hold government to account when it doesn't do it. In 2009, we had a task force that was put up by the Prime Minister to look into this issue. You know, and if you look at the findings, it's quite interesting because it speaks of how from 1996, you know, this whole excision of lands of the forest was done essentially to give out huge pieces of land to people associated with the former President Moi, his family, his cronies. This is something you don't hear discussed today. You know, where is the genesis of this? And if the genesis is in criminality, then we've got to go after people, you know, who did this. In terms of preserving the water tower and getting people out, I'm all for it, but as he said, it's got to be done in a humane manner. You know, lots of these people were given title deeds by a government, you know, so there is I mean, there's no way we can be saying that, look, we allowed you to come in, we certify that it is yours, and then now we are sort of jumping away from it. You know, we've got responsibilities. You know, so I think in terms of the resources put forward, in terms of resettling, there has to be a clear plan. Simply going in and kicking people out, and you find this confusion. Mara, the schools are closed. Mara, they are not. You know, now if you're leaving them open and you're kicking out people, who's going to be in the schools?
Right.
You know, it doesn't seem to me like it's a well thought out, well organized plan, you know, that takes into account the interests of people, because in the end, the government, all these are Kenyans, these are citizens, the government has a duty to them, you know. So I would want to see a much better organized, a much more humane way of getting people out, if we all agree that they should come out, but also going back to the genesis of it and asking who it is who excised this, where was their criminality, and actually going and punishing, getting those people and punishing them. And even if it means us recouping the monies that we have spent resettling people, etc., we should be looking at these big wigs who got those pieces of land and saying, well, pay us back.
There's two things. I think I agree largely with my brother, but I think he has been blindsided on two things.
Right.
Number one, as I said, an illegality will always remain an illegality. It's not as if that these title deeds were being issued properly. It was not supposed to be done. So you cannot come and claim that the government or the state is held to account or to stick to the titles that were issued when those titles were illegally acquired. So criminality will always remain criminality. You cannot, you know, launder it at any one point. Number two, the people in the Mao have been given time to move. Many of them are moving voluntarily. The voices you hear are not the voices of the people in the Mao saying we will not move. It is politicians telling them not to move.
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous because these people understand that there is an issue. Most of them in the Mao actually understand the issue of conservation.
Right.
They understand the importance of conserving the Mao. So they know and also understand that there's some irregularity and illegality in how they ended up in the forest in the first place. And they are moving voluntarily. When you see a national leader come on TV and tell the people not to move despite a government directive for them to move, and now we're being told that really the directive is not a government directive, it's a personal directive by somebody who doesn't even sit on cabinet.
Right.
It makes for a lot of confusion. We would like for clarity to be there. My brother Gadhara, this issue, we cannot go back to the genesis of issues every time.
Why not?
There is a crisis of elaboration of problems.
Okay, but Sifuna,
This problem the genesis has been discussed and elaborated enough.
Okay.
We have dealt with the genesis. We know where the rain started beating us. We are at the point of a solution. Please don't take us back.
But Sifuna, even as you said the genesis, and people have spoken about this original sin, I'll bring Gabriel in on this as well, because Natembeya said that the DCI is investigating 15 individuals who apparently were at the beginning of all of this issuance of this land in question. Some of them have since passed on, so they're having a problem with that.
Exactly.
But should that, Sifuna says, let's start from where we are and solve it now. But should we go back there and these 15 individuals from the DCI brought to book?
And solve what? You know, like, you know, as G is saying here, if we go back to the genesis of the issue, what are we going to solve? All right?
But should they work scot-free?
No. There are ideas that were good or were better then. There are ideas now that cannot actually help in any way, shape or form. What am I talking? We know very well back in another administration where land was issued favorably just because somebody knows, Sifuna, you get 100 acres of land. All right? Now things are very different. If you are going to start digging, and I'm not saying mistakes were not done. I'm not saying oversight wasn't done. I'm not saying illegalities, as a matter of fact, were never done. But how do you start solving them? Just the other day in Nairobi, you saw, I think it's a decree that was given to bring down Sifa apartments in Langata. But who is holding the end of the stick at this point? Not the person who built, not the person who was given the title. It is the buyer, the end product, the guy who just went and borrowed some money to buy an apartment. So in other words, what you're doing, you're committing him to an original sin, which he has little or nothing to do with. He does not even know. So the question that we should be, and I believe the issue about Mao is about planning. How do we move people? That to me is how, that's the elephant in the room. How do we move these people? How do we continue to conserve this ecosystem? We had the same issue in Aberdares. We had the same issue in Kiani Forest. People moved. You know why? Because it was preceded by an understanding that, hey, we must conserve. You are talking about Amara River that has dried twice. Right. You are talking about the Wasonyiro. The entire world, the human-wildlife conflict is continuing to happen just because of the drying up of the rivers that are attributed to the Mau. So this is not an issue of not knowing what is going to happen in the next 10 years. In fact, we are late. So it is about proper planning. How do we move people? And I understand that there was a time actually when most actually moved back to the cut line. All right? So the question we should be talking is, how do we ensure that this process moves a little bit quicker? That is the problem.
Let me push back on that, and I'll bring in SG on this because he's the one who has brought in this new thought of the. I'll come to you, Bonapatrick. Yes. With the thought that, okay, fine, whatever happened. Let's go back, not to go back to the original scene. Let's conserve the forest. But these aren't, mutually exclusive. We can conserve the forest, but go back to the start.
You have not understood my point. I am saying the problem is known. It's being over-elaborated. One of the recommendations in the TJRC report was, in addition to setting up of a land court and the National Land Commission, there was supposed to be a special tribunal that was going to deal with the revocation of irregular allocations and illegal allocations. So the problem is known. The solutions are known. What we don't want to do is to waste time again doing the work that has already been done by commissions such as the TJRC. We know the solution. The reason why people scat around these commission reports is because they have very painful recommendations. The implementation including punishing those people that Gadara is talking about. We don't have to go back there. Already public money has been expended to elaborate the problem. So don't send us back there. As you talk, people are cutting down the forest. Correct. So deal with that.
Yes, but again, as you said, again, I think we are mixing these things up. I think you're very right when you say that we can do both. I don't think there's a disagreement that people should be moved out of the forest. Right. How it's being done, I've got an issue with. I think it was elaborated and you need a plan. You need to do it in a humane fashion. Right. We don't disagree. But my point is, we are so focused on that, and even as Sifuna speaks about the elaboration of what the problem was or the genesis of it, what has actually then been done, to those people who are named? We had the TJRC report. We've got the task force from the Prime Minister in 2009 that tells us who it is that did this. These people are walking free till today. These people, in fact, many of them still own land in the forest till today. So it's not an issue of saying that we should not be looking at that. We should be asking, how come nothing has been done there? Those should have been actually the first people to get out. And then that gives, I think, let me finish. That then gives confidence to other people who are being removed. These guys who you're talking about, for example, who are third, second generation owners who have been sold land, they've bought it, they've gone to government, and they've been told this land is available for you. That person, you can't simply say that, get out and we don't care where you go. Correct. You actually gave him, you told him that, this was available to him. So fine, you will revoke it, but then how you do, how you resettle him, how you actually acknowledge the injustice done to him, etc. Those are issues I don't think we should scat over.
Okay, fantastic stuff. And of course, as you can see, 3 people here, and the views, of course, already generating some heat, not only in studio but online as well. We welcome your feedback as always at K24 TV on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can also SMS us on 21222. Speaking of Twitter, we have Mbuvi on that particular side. It's all about the Mau right now.
Just like he said, the conversation is happening here, but also guys are tweeting from home. So I think it's only right we check what they are saying. Let's see what Joanam254 hashtag Mau evictions, and you're saying if they are making people leave, it's only fair that they give them a place to move to. Valid point. Then we have Kefa Murage hashtag Mau evictions rather. There are millions of Kenyans who depend on waters of rivers that have catchments from Mau forest. Let's stop politicking and conserve the Mau. At the end of the day, we need to put logic into it, and absolute logic there you have put. Mayaka Mofa, you're saying there are deep politics surrounding the Masai Mau evictions plan. That's how you know we are still Kenyans. He is alluding that there could be some, tribal, war going on there. Nasir Tajir, you're saying, would be nice if this Mau matter wasn't seen as a Maasai Kalenjin affair. It's much bigger than the two communities. I hope this matter gets sorted once and for all this year. Thank you very much, Nasir, for that. One last tweet we have. Musiani, you're saying innocent people are suffering so much and the people they elected are busy politicking. So sad indeed. Well, I will leave that to continue after the break. Right now, though, tunapotea kidogo, and then when we come back, the conversation